Hey, welcome. I'm Dr. Jerry Crete. Hey, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm a professional counselor. I've been working in the area of trauma treatment for many decades. And I'm just excited to be with you on this podcast. The podcast is Post-Traumatic Growth with Dr. Jerry. And I have some experience working with trauma. I have some personal experience also that I want to share. And I have some professional experience I want to share. And in this podcast, what I'm really excited about is that I'm going to be bringing in so many guests. I hope you will join me as we go on this journey together. The guests that I have experienced all sorts of different kinds of trauma. Before I get into that, I'm thinking I need to say, what is trauma? I mean, some people are wondering, is everything trauma? Does everyone experience trauma? And the reality is, yes, everyone does. A trauma is something that is psychological or emotional or physical, and it's a response to something that is extremely distressing, and it overwhelms your ability to cope, at least in that moment. And some trauma is easily resolved. Sometimes we go through hardships or we have adverse events and we get through it and it's good. But sometimes we experience trauma and then we just have to keep going. We just have to keep moving. We don't have time to process it. We don't have time to resolve it, but it stays with us. And it often has a way of affecting our lives as we move forward. And the way it affects us is often unconscious. We're not fully aware that our trauma is affecting us on a day-to-day basis. And this can lead to all sorts of issues such as depression or higher levels of anxiety. In some cases, it even leads to post-traumatic stress disorder, the infamous PTSD. But not everyone who experiences trauma experiences PTSD. And in this podcast, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the difference between experiencing a trauma, resolving a trauma, having post-traumatic stress, but also what does it mean if it advances to post-traumatic stress disorder. We're also going to talk about different kinds of trauma. Some things are very physical. Some things happen out of nowhere, like a car crash, right? And so it's a simple trauma. It might be very serious. It may have caused a lot of damage, but it's classified as a simple trauma because it really isn't about, your relationships or about your sense, your sense of purpose in the universe kind of thing. But other traumas are complex, and complex traumas have to do with interpersonal relationships. So when there's some kind of emotional, verbal, sexual, physical abuse by someone that we care about or someone we know very well, that kind of trauma has different layers of complexity and affects us at often a deeper level. So we're going to talk about that as well. But I don't want to talk about that just as an academic topic. That's not my goal here. My goal here in this podcast is to actually meet with people who've experienced trauma and meet with people who have worked with those who've experienced high levels of trauma. So if you're listening right now, I imagine you've experienced some trauma in your own life. And I am here to join with you. I want to acknowledge and honor your resilience. The fact that you're here and listening, despite whatever has happened to you, means you're seeking greater levels of healing, greater levels of resilience, greater levels of moving forward. So let me just pause for a moment and just thank you for being here and thank whatever parts of you were willing to show up. Yeah, I'm just so excited. I have some guests Some of them have experienced military trauma. Some of them have experienced sexual abuse. Some have experienced neglect. Some have profound mother wounds. Some have profound father wounds. And some have experienced chronic physical illnesses. And I can't wait to have each of these different guests on here and really talk to them about their experience and find out how they have found some measure of healing in their lives and how they have grown. This kind of takes us to the whole topic of post-traumatic growth. What is that? Well, it's fascinating. In my mind, this is so important. We can talk all day about all the bad things that have ever happened to us, right? And we can philosophize about why they're suffering. You know, there's this whole area of study in the church called I think it's theodicity, if I'm saying it right. And it's this whole area of the study of suffering. I happen to have the belief that of all the world religions, Christianity has an answer to the question of suffering that I believe no other religion really gets close to. And the reason and the reality of that is that our suffering from a Christian perspective is meaningful. It may not always seem that way. It may not always appear that way at the time. Even as we reflect back, we may not understand the meaning in that suffering. But our faith teaches us, Jesus Christ himself teaches us in his own experience that suffering, although not valuable in and of itself alone, right? God doesn't want us to suffer in itself, but that our own suffering in a fallen world and all that has a significance and has an importance and a relevance, and it can change us. Christ himself suffered. I don't know of another religious, belief system where the actual God of that religion chose to be like us and chose to suffer with us. And he actually died and gave himself completely up, and in a way that so we all have to do. We all experience suffering. We all eventually will die. And what is amazing about the Christian faith, in my view, is that Christ joined with us in that. He meets us in our suffering because he suffered. Whoa, that's a profound truth, a profound thing to unpack and explore and look at. And I plan in these next several weeks as we meet different guests to explore what that means and what that means in my life, what that means in their lives. And hopefully you will discover what it means in your own life. So what does it mean that we've had these difficult, painful experiences? So my own thought, and I'm just going to be super vulnerable with you. This is why I'm doing a podcast on post-traumatic growth, is to actually, first of all, be vulnerable myself. I myself am a survivor of childhood abuse. I'm a survivor of some measure of family dysfunction. The wounds from that have been very deep in my own life, and I've experienced a lot of pain. Through some kind of grace, I have also been blessed. Whatever my cross has been, I have learned to embrace. I have learned to kiss that cross. Because without that cross that I experienced, I don't believe that I would be here talking to you today in the way that I'm doing. I don't believe that I would be the counselor I am today helping people. I don't believe that I would have written a book like Litanies of the Heart. So I know that my own trauma history, as bad as it was in itself not what God wanted for me in itself, but that it happened, God has used to do amazing things in my life. One of those things is that I believe I had developed a greater empathy and understanding for other people who've experienced suffering, who've been abused. That has led me to be a professional counselor and a therapist. And I think as I've worked with people and I hear their stories, I'm able to really understand. I'm able to really enter into their experience in a way that someone who had not experienced anything like it might have troubles, might have difficulties. So empathy. I believe, empathy is a powerful healing tool. And when you are suffering and someone else empathizes, which means they truly feel your feelings, they understand where you're coming from, they totally get it. That's powerful when we encounter someone else who understands our own experience. Now, it might not be exactly the same, right? Like people have different kinds of trauma, but when we feel like we're working with someone, whether it's a therapist or a coach, a spiritual director, a pastor, any kind of helper, a Stephen minister, you name it, and they actually seem to get it, it's a game changer, right? So we bring our own histories and we bring our own pain and we bring all that, and that helps us to empathize with others. I'm also going to mention that my own experience of adversity, the challenges in my own life, have actually made me stronger as a person. I believe this. I am far from perfect. So I'm not sitting here saying I've got it all together or I don't make any mistakes. I mean, sometimes I fail miserably. But I happen to believe that I have found new avenues, new areas of strength that I might not otherwise have had. And it's because of my own trauma. And then another area I want to mention is that there's this big question we all have, right? I think if we're human, if we've had any time to self-reflect, if we've had any time to ponder the purpose of life, the meaning of life, which is kind of a question for all of us, we really can't answer it. I mean, I don't know that anyone can fully answer that with certainty. We have our church, our faith may actually give us some answers, and we can accept that, and that can sometimes be an act of faith. But is it something we believe in our hearts? I think it has to move into the heart. So the right answer, and it's a true answer, I believe I have come to see it. The right answer is that the meaning and purpose of life is to be united with God, is to experience God, is ultimately just have the vision of God, the beatific vision, to be able to encounter him. That's the ultimate in life. But for most of us, we don't experience that on a day-to-day basis, if ever. And so that sounds very theoretical, right? And so if we take a step back or one level back from, full union with God, which we all aspire to as a Christian, or we all hope will happen in the next life, the next step back is really to connect with others and to discover what it means to truly love another, to experience what it means to give of yourself to another and that to be received, right? And so on a secondary level, the first level, of course, is that ultimate union with God. But the next level down is to actually experience real communion with others. And that can be in marriage. Sure, marriage is a great example of where that can happen. But that can also happen in deep friendships. That can happen in communities where we experience what it is, to find important meaning in our lives. And the thing that trauma does, right, when left untreated, is that trauma teaches us that there is no meaning, that everything is chaos, and that we're unsafe, and that we cannot survive on our own, and that we're doomed. And then we get that replayed over and over and over again in our experience. And that narrative, that version of things is death, really. It's like hopelessness, right? That's where we can become easily depressed, where little things that happen can become major sources of anxiety. Even bigger things that happen can be major sources of anxiety. And I believe that post-traumatic growth is about, noticing that can happen, but realizing, whoa, there's this deeper meaning in life. There's this deeper purpose. And even if I can't quite achieve full union with God yet, I can find power or significance, more importantly, in the relationships in my life, in the people that matter. And then there's also something else, though. This meaning in life is discovering who we are. And sometimes that is also a difficult challenge. We don't realize our full dignity. We don't realize how amazing we are as creations. We are created by God, and we have this dignity that is amazing. Yes, we're capable of cruelty. We're capable of being the opposite of that. We're capable of disengaging and isolating. We're capable of being, resentful and revengeful and full of rage and wrath. And we're capable of all kinds of negative reactions, right, in our fallen world. Yeah. But we're also capable of wonderful and amazing things. We're capable of love, not just instinctual love as in self-protection, but self-sacrificial love, a kind of love that is a giving of oneself, a kind of love that really sees another, really cares for another, really wants their good, and desires them, like desires their good, and desires to be in communion and connection with others. This is something that is kind of profound because, as far as I can understand it, no other animal on this planet is quite capable of doing it the way that humans can. So we're capable of terrible depravity, but we're capable of amazing beauty, amazing connection, amazing love, right? And so as we discover, post-traumatic growth, our own traumas can help us realize just how beautiful the world can be. So thank you if you've gotten this far. Thank you for listening to me. I feel so blessed to be to be here working with the Elijah Institute. And I'm so blessed to do the work I do with Souls and Hearts. And I feel so blessed to run a practice, Transfiguration Counseling, and just the many projects I get to do in this church and with so many interesting, beautiful people. God bless you. I will see you next time. Take good care.